So to just start somewhere was a huge step for me without it having to be perfect, because you have to realize that no one's going to know who you are. And you have to start somewhere. You have to start building your brand. I know for you guys who have so many.
I have that feeling, the way I was, or the person I was when I read the book, and the person I am after I read the book is two different people. And I feel like that is also where the empowerment comes in, because you learn so much, and you just, I don't know, so much that changes in you as a person.
You can't be able to tell everyone your story.
Yeah.
But by writing, people read, and so.
Hi everyone. Welcome to another episode of Think is Think, and as you know, we are your hosts.
Today we have a very inspiring and young author who's going to give us views of how you use writing as a tool for empowerment.
Hi, I'm Emilie Nicole, and I've been published with 2 books so far. I'm very excited to be here.
And we're so happy to have you, Emilie.
Yeah.
And without further ado, we're going to go straight into our first question of today. So tell us a little bit more about yourself, your journey. When did you start writing? What made you to start writing? And of course, going back to our topic of today, how has writing empowered you in a way?
For me, writing has been a natural part of my life since I was a kid, basically. I very much think in pictures and feelings. I seldom think in words. So for me, it's been a tangible way of actually clarifying what I feel and what's going on around me and who I am in a way. It's been a tool for my identity and my voice, and having an uninterrupted flow of sentences and thoughts. Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. That brought us to the other question that I want to ask personally, because everybody have inspiration of doing certain things. For example, I as an author, what really inspire you? Is it like maybe some writer, or a kind of book, or you just feel inspired by your surrounding, what is going on around you in your life, and then you feel like that's a way of you sharing yourself to people?
I think it is a great form of self-expression, for sure, and I am absolutely inspired by events around me, from my upbringing and from my day-to-day life and relationships, thoughts and feelings. However, just storytelling was absolutely mesmerizing to me when I grew up. I couldn't wait to start to learn how to read and to express myself. My sisters and my mom read me stories every night, and it was just a world that I couldn't wait to be a part of. And there are multiple writers. One of the first ones that really motivated me to start reading or writing was C.S. Lewis with the Narnia series. And since then, I think I've been spellbound by stories with symbolical, mythological messages behind them, with very, driving forces of political messages of belief or convictions. Then so there's different authors.
They like inspired you.
Yeah.
Right. Wow. Okay. And it's good that you've mentioned like some of like the writers that have inspired you, because that was going to be like my next question and stuff.
Yeah.
However, this is now to like our other host. What do you think about what Emilie said? Do you feel? I mean, I know you're not an author yourself, but do you feel like
You never know. I might be one.
Attack.
Do you feel like the like writing has inspired you in a way, like other authors that you've read that have like inspired you in a sense? Because as far as I'm concerned, I kind of feel like Emilie just mentioned, writing in terms of empowerment can also be a way of giving voice to people, and I feel like that is something a lot of authors try to express in their books. Like when I think about authors, I know she's a poet, Rupi Kaur. She has very many times tried to speak about like how do you call it, violence and stuff like that in her books, and this is something that a lot of people try to relate with, mostly people that have gone through such experiences and everything. So it's also a way to allow people to, I don't know, connect with the author, find their voices and everything. And I can agree with you, but I don't know, is that something you think as well?
Yeah, well, I think authors write books for different reasons. Some write books to share their life, like a memoir or something. Some write novels for people to read. Some write love stories. And I think there varies. The authors, they have their own, like you said, you get your inspiration through your surrounding. And there is a kind of your voice. There is a way of you putting yourself out there. That is what I am. That is how I am. And because you can't be able to tell everyone your story. But by writing, people read. And so I think authors, I read books too, novels mostly. So I'm able to relate to certain authors' books, depending on what they're writing about. You understand? So I think it's amazing to get someone like you, and I think I have to read some of your books because I like people that telling their story through writing. Because I think there is where the empowerment is. Because you're able to voice out yourself by writing. Expressing yourself through writing. I think that is really amazing. And I think you should continue with that. And there are a lot of people you might not know that you have inspired too. Like you said, other authors have inspired you. You might have inspired other people too. You might have not known that, except one day they also sit in a platform like this and say, oh, I was inspired by this author, Emilie or something, you know. So you never know. That's the thing.
That would be the dream, wouldn't it? And
Anyway, moving on, I'm just wondering, I mean, as an author, I know that it's been recent since you started writing, right?
Since I started publishing books, at least. Yes.
Definitely.
So in 2021, I came out with my first novel. That was very important to me. And it was inspired by my work with help organizations. And like you said, self-expression is a huge part of why I write. And to be able to put my personal imprint in words, of course. However, I believe a driving force is very much human psychology, and B, major political or humanitarian questions. We spoke a bit before about it, but and for me, writing about women and queer love and how to like wrap aspects of the refugee crisis into a story that's neutral and human was, it was very inspiring. And
that's your first
that was my
right?
first book.
Can you say the name? Maybe
it was Every Minute, so Varje Minut in Swedish. And it's because every minute there are people are forced to flee their homes. And every minute the main character is thinking about her love and best friend. And I think it felt special to start out. It is a novel. It is a novel. So, and it felt special to start out with a novel that was a bit fantastical, and it was dystopian and imaginary, but still, pointing to very real elements of our daily global life. Because those were the novels that I grew up with. Very much, and mainly inspired by, I know that you asked me later for a quote for today, and I will talk about this book later.
Definitely.
But so for me, it felt special to start my journey as an author with a novel of that sort.
Okay.
And then I have moved on to poetry and more self-expression in my second book. Yeah.
I'm thinking moving on to, I mean, not moving on, but like reflecting on what you just said right now. What would you say are some of like the barriers or challenges that you personally as an author has faced, or let's just say in general, that you feel like authors face when, you know, publishing books, or it can also be during the process of writing a book? And this doesn't have to do with, I don't know, the society. It could also be within yourself, you know, some limiting beliefs, or I don't know, something to like inspire future authors out there who would want to, I don't know, write.
For the longest time, I wrote manuscripts where I didn't give it my all. I still sent them in to publishers and asked them to review it, but I knew within myself that I had only given about like 70%, maybe 60%. Maybe I hadn't read them through as much as I could have. I didn't make all the edits I could have, because giving it my very all and having it be such an important part of my life and my dreams, I felt that it was very scary to be that vulnerable and to be rejected in that dream. So in my mind, I think when I was young, like from the age of like 14 to maybe, to the publishing of my first book, when I sent in that manuscript, there was like almost a 10-year period where I wrote books and I was kind of warming up to the idea of like, maybe I'll give it my all. Maybe I'll get accepted. And I kept it as a dream within myself to get that yes and see my book in a physical form. Because, you know, you're very safe when you're dreaming and when you're having those aspirations, because then there's no one to say that you can't. Because then if you get rejected, it's only them saying, it's a no for now. And you can shield yourself with saying, well, when I do give it my all, they will say yes. So having that Varje Minut manuscript sent in after editing it for as much as I could have and being really satisfied with it myself, that was very scary sending it in, for sure. And also in the process of actually realizing it and having it become a book was very interesting to see my reaction to that, like the thing that you have been thinking about or visualizing or you know. And I think most people have that. I think many do not either pursue at all, or there are different opportunities, of course, to invest time or money or whatever. But I do believe a lot of people limit themselves in what they put into their projects, because you can either be discouraged by your surroundings or you can be discouraged or held back by yourself. So that was a personal challenge, I believe, because I was at that time saving the good times for myself. I was thinking, you know, later on when I have my life sorted in this way, then I'm going to be this author, I'm going to be this figure. And so to just start somewhere was a huge step for me without it having to be perfect. Because you have to realize that no one's going to know who you are. And you have to start somewhere. You have to start building your brand. I know for you guys who have so many projects, I mean, and so many things going on, like you're truly building it. But I think for many, and especially maybe today with social media and with the illusion of that success happens overnight, that's very easy to take to heart, I think. But yeah, I think it's been vital for me to have some supporting figures to also give me some tough love in it.
Wait, just to follow. Just to follow before I forget. So, I know right now you've like spoken of some like personal challenges, but would you say in terms of like society-wise, or when it comes to like the publishing houses where you had to send in your manuscripts and stuff like that, did you find any challenges?
Of
or
course.
are there any advice that you'd give any other person watching, something they would do better that if you had known you'd have done different when it comes to, I don't know, the publishing houses and stuff?
Oh my, I mean, you have to expect a lot of no's before you get a yes.
Okay.
And so that's just the start of it. And you have to have determination and this vision clear for yourself, I think. And then, of course, now I'm writing within like pretty indie, how do you say, categories of books, like, you know, poetry or this like queer dystopian novel. It's very specific. So, so of course, my books might not land with the grander or more general audiences at this time, but I think my advice would be to write what comes naturally, to ground yourself in what you want to say with your writing, basically, and to have that vision clear, but also know that there are different type of publishers for that. If you're writing romance or thrillers, or if you're writing poetry, there's a whole world of publishing and different options, and yes.
Yeah, this might go off the books, but I was wondering, just me wondering, because like when you're young, everyone have their dream. Like, for example, Karen, you want to be a lawyer. Like when you go to school, you already know what you want to be. You already figured it out. For you, before, let's say, going to high school, were you targeting being an author, or you had other dreams that you wanted to become? Along the line, you just changed to be?
I think I've had those. My two major dreams since I was about 5 has been to work with humanitarian rights and writing. That's basically been it.
Since you were 5?
Since I was 5.
Wow.
I think it's because I always wanted to be able to express myself in a clear and intentional way. And then I've also, I would say, always wanted to be a part of something that's bigger than my self-expression as well. And when you're being given the opportunity to help, I think it's you should take it.
You being an author then becomes like a manifestation of that dream of like being part of this humanitarian, things that drive you?
Partially. I think they're going hand in hand more and more. I think it's been caught in my work life that I do write, and therefore I've been doing interviews or, social media communications and all of that. So
Because
it's been blending more and more over time.
I'm just wondering, can you like give 3 things that you write mostly about? I mean, this doesn't just have to be about the books you've written, because I know you've written more than just, what are in the books. So I'm just wondering.
I think my major themes, I had a friend say that my 2 major themes are, she was saying it was grief and gratitude.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Those were like
So
my
you'd
2.
say grief and gratitude.
Yeah. So it comes from and that manifests itself in different forms, I believe.
Okay.
I think
Alright.
I think that's it.
Yeah, again, wondering. I'm wondering. You write your books in Swedish, right?
Yeah.
And I believe you want to expand world globally. Have you ever given it a thought? Like, because Swedish, for us here, we can read it. People in Sweden and maybe Norway, but have you ever given it a thought, like wanting to write in more vast language, like English or French or?
Yeah. Oh my goodness, French would be fantastic. Are you kidding me? No, but I pray one day. But but English would be fantastic, actually. And I had plans, especially with my first novel, to publish it in English, because the dystopian and fantasy scene is much bigger internationally than it is here in Sweden.
Definitely.
I believe, for example, in England, it's like an 80% reader.
Right.
How do you say? Yeah, 80% read dystopian novels, for example, there, whereas 8% here in Sweden. So it's a vast difference, for sure. So it would be fantastic to explore
And like just
an
expand
international
it.
scene. Yeah, for sure, it would be fantastic. But I think one advice for anyone writing or getting into like publishing or how to say, like, the literary scene, is to know that it's not easy. Needless to say, it's not easy, and there are so many different layers, and you might think, okay, but well, if I get a yes, then, from there on out, there will be, this publisher taking care of everything from advertising, and I will be a big name from the start. And that might be the case. I'm not going to say it won't, but there is so many layers to when it comes to translating, marketing, making your name, and also whether it's, you self-publish, as hybrid publishing or traditional publishing, you still have to be incredibly active in your pursuits. Like, you have to reach out to bookstores and scenes, and it's not as glamorous as some might think. Yes. But I mean, it's but I think that's the case for many. I know, like, I have friends who are singers, and those who have been acting, and you really have to advocate for yourself in a way that's not always comfortable. And the same with, for example, translating. I was like, well, if it will just get picked up. It will just, the countries will be asking for it, or it will go through the publisher. And that might be the case. It can go through the publisher as well. But there are so many different examples and so many different options today. Like, you can have an agent. I don't have an agent today, but there are many people who do, many writers who do, with a great benefit, who have agents who put their writing forward into, like, an international scene, for example. So there's no one size fits all in this scene, I believe. So I'm trying to discover the different options for, like, international publishing. It would be very exciting.
I agree.
But we'll
that's
see.
very insightful, and I really hope our audience is, like, learning from, like, everything you've said. Mostly, obviously, again, aspiring authors and everything. But just going back to our topic at hand, which is, like, writing as an empowerment tool. I do believe that throughout this process, just hearing you speak from, like, where you started up to now, the whole process has empowered you as an individual, because now you're sitting right here, you're literally able to give somebody advice from how you write. I know you might not be that perfect the way you're intending to, but I do believe that the experience that you've gained is enough to empower another individual into, like, just taking this next step into wanting, to be an author and everything. And that just takes me to the question, in what ways can writing create a sense of community and connection among people, you believe?
I believe that, generally speaking, writing is inviting. It's an invitation to say, come and be a part of my perspective, my experience, and come here to disagree or agree with me. And that creates communities within itself. I believe I'm a big nerd for, like, speeches and how do you say, like, political involvement, humanitarian involvement, and of course there is so much writing behind all of that. But I think at its core, what writing does is, like I said, it is inviting people to see what you have been seeing and to chime in and say, like, find a comfort in that, or disagreeing with that even. And how do you say? It creates discussions, and it creates comfort, and it's such a great question. But I believe it very naturally creates communities, because it makes you discover that there are others who are having this experience, or someone is having this experience that I haven't had, but I want to support this experience. If that's clear enough.
Yeah, it is clear.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering what my co-host here thinks.
No, yeah. I think all that she's saying, it's not only based on being an author or writing books, if I may say. I think this involves all walks of life. Everything you're doing, you face challenges.
Yeah.
Back to the challenges. You face challenges. It's not going to be a smooth road. Well, some people happen to have the opportunity to have a smooth road, but everything I know in life brings challenges. So I think what you're saying makes a lot of sense for if you are there, our audience, doing anything, not only being an author, going to school, going to work, want to be someone. It brings challenges, but what is important is how you're willing to face those challenges. I think that's what you're trying to say, because they're going to be there, but you have to be willing, and you have to be able to persevere, to walk through those challenges and try to be what you want to be.
And you need a community in that.
Yes.
You need comfort in knowing I'm not the only one facing these challenges.
Right.
Whatever group you are in, like you have your set of challenges, and I believe it is, especially today, it is incredibly important that we do not make too drastic of assumptions, but that we actually listen to one another, and that we move closer to a middle, and where we are comfortable with different perspectives, and being different with different experiences. I think people inviting you to their own stories, or whether it's in writing, in speaking, in whatever expression that comes from words, I think it's such a deeply vulnerable and important thing to share.
Yeah. I think I do agree with you about the community and definitely everything you've been speaking about. But I just want to add that I personally think the writing, in a sense, when it comes to, a form of empowerment for many people, like, for example, I myself, it was more like, to be able to write, you must have achieved certain degrees, and I don't know, just be this very academically centered individual to be able to at least write, I don't know, literatures like poems, or, for example, novels. But funny enough, that is something that you come to find out with time, that you don't need all that. You just need a driving force in the beginning, like you had, for example.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I have a question. Like, looking ahead, how do you see the role of writing evolving as a tool for empowerment in the society?
I believe we see it already today evolving in the political scenes, in demonstrations, and active citizenships as of today. My hope going forward for the literary scene is that we will find this curiosity for one another again, and wanting to investigate people that might not be the closest ones to us, but for the broader spectrum of our society. And also for just classic storytelling, finding more.
The fun part of it.
Yeah, the fun part of it, but also, I mean, like reading and writing is proved to help in so many ways in articulating your needs and thoughts and feelings and your mental health, as well as developing empathy and understanding for the people around you. It's incredibly important. So I do hope that we will read more and write more. I think for everyone. But yeah, for everyone. I was gonna say there are a million different groups you can get into. But yeah, I think we need that openness and curiosity, and I think we need to be able to formulate ourselves and articulate needs, wants, and aspirations.
So, as we're coming to the end of our podcast for today, I'm just wondering, because I see you having a book, and I'm just wondering if there's certain thoughts or quotes or what you would want to share with us before you wrap up.
Because you asked for a quote, I brought the whole thick book, and it is. I mean, it's Marcus Zusak, and it's a book thief, and it's a very.
Is he the author that inspired you as a kid?
No, it's not. It's not. No, not this one. Okay. But I read this one in high school, I believe, and it is a book that are read by kids and adults. It's very heavily themed, but it can, how do you say, it can be read by so many different generations, and it is a tale told from the perspective of death, about World War II. And there are definitely, in that has like those fantastical and magical elements, even the philosophical layers, and then you have those very simple human joyous aspects of it, and very innocent tales within it, which I think is beautiful. And on the topic of communities and empowerment, there's this quote like in the beginning that is called A Small Theory, and it reads, "People observe the colors of a day only at its beginnings and ends. But to me, it's quite clear that a day emerges through a multitude of shades and intonations, with each passing moment. A single hour can consist of thousands of different colors, waxy yellows, cloud spat blues, murky darknesses. In my line of work, I make it a point to notice them." And
that is powerful.
With that, I think it's a beautiful quote, because we all have our own nuances and intonations in our day-to-day lives. And I think reading and writing is just exploring ourselves and others. And
I think that's the empowerment part of it, because I don't know whether I had somebody say this, or maybe a famous speaker or author, or is it just myself right now, but I know that there is nobody that starts and ends the book as the same person, because at the beginning of the book, obviously you do not know what it is about, but every time you end the book, at least I have that feeling, the way I was, or the person I was when I read the book, and the person I am after I've read the book, is two different people. And I feel like that is also where the empowerment comes in, because you learn so much, and you just, I don't know, so much that changes in you as a person. So I think writing and maybe reading, because we don't talk about writing without reading, in a sense, is powerful.
And being able to read and write is powerful within itself. And also, if you are allowed to express your thoughts and opinions and take a stance for, what you believe and think, that is a right to not take for granted, especially today. So again, your voice doesn't have to be heard by millions of others to count, but to express yourself in the way that you can, and insert yourself into the conversations to the extent that you wish, I think is important to do today, and not wait.
Definitely.
because we need everyone's voices, and
Right.
we need a multitude of stories.
True.
Yeah, and like I said, it looks so different today. Like the whole scene of publishing, writing, like reading. It's so
Definitely, I agree.
there's so many scenes for it.
Any final
Yeah.
thoughts on your side?
Well, it's for me. It's just to thank you for being here, because
Thank you.
not everyone is able to elaborate on their work like you just did here. It is really powerful, and for you out there, if you're inspired to be a writer, I think you should take great example from this young woman here. And like we said, we're wrapping up this podcast for today. And yeah.
Would you just say 2 books? There are 2 or 3?
2 books.
Two
I
books,
just finished
exactly.
my
Just-
3rd draft, actually. So that's gonna be different. Thank you.
Okay, so how about
Yeah.
you tell the audience like your 2 books, where to find them,
Yeah.
and yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you can order them to your home from any online store, basically, and in selected physical bookstores.
Okay.
You have the first one, who is called Varje Minut, and is this dystopian love story between 2 women and 2 best friends.
Okay.
And then you have Kosmos Kärlek, the love of cosmos, which is, how do you say, it's a story.
Story, okay.
It's a short story in 4 sections of love in different seasons. Yeah, and it is
You should look for that.
prosa lyrical. Yeah,
Yeah, you do.
I believe that's a
Oh,
word
I
in
don't
English.
have- I
Yeah.
But anyway, thank you guys. You've had where to find the books. I mean, for the translations, they should be patient. They'll definitely be coming
I'm working on
very
it.
soon. But that brings us to the end of the podcast for today. If you've been with us from the beginning up to the end, thank you. And if you felt empowered as much as we, the hosts, have
Yeah.
gotten inspired today, then that's good as well, because that was the purpose of today's podcast. But other than that, thank you so much for tuning in. Do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to all our social medias. And we will see you next time. Bye bye.